know this in Nigeria. Okay, from Nigeria, also new energy cars also coming. If you have an EV charger project, you can get in credit from us. Okay, and launched in Growatt 2012. Actually, it's 2011. Right now, this year, this page. Yes, 2011. And right now, this year's we founded Shenzhen. Shenzhen is our factory site and our headquarters. From this year, we invest a new building, our whole building industrial park in Shenzhen. Right now, we have two. And our factory site in Huizhou is product inverter and battery and EV charger. And right now, this year, okay, next page. Sorry. Yes, about Growatt right now, up to now, we are period inverter shipment around 1.2, 5.1 million, and the storage inverter shipment around 1.2 million. Our cloud user, we develop our own platform to monitor the energy storage. So around 6 million people use our platform. We are so proud of it. And we are employing around 4,000 employees. And we invest much fund on the R&D team, engineers side. It shows we are focused on the get improvement, how to the product, how to adapt the African needs. This year, we are the hybrid inverter supplier global top 3. And our PV inverter was the number 1. And the commercial partner of our global top 5. And please message. We are total from next year. We are the top brand PV awards. We are very professional on the PV inverter side. You can trust us. We run the business in Nigeria more than 5 years. Okay, next page. Yes, it's our headquarters here. And we also have our global office here. And here, global office here, 63 representative office and warehouse. And in Nigeria, Lagos are the main office. In whole Africa, we have 3 total. Is the Kenya and the South Africa. We have our local warehouse in the South Africa. It means we can then give you the definitely fully support about the sales part, after service. In Nigeria right now, we have in whole Nigeria we have 3 after service center. In Lagos, in Abuja, in Kano. So when your product sell to any this region, we support you. Call us. We definitely give you after service support. Okay, next page. And this is the inverter side. It's what we put. Okay, next page. And our residential products. Tight. I know in Nigeria it's not support. So next page. The CNI and the Unity products. This is Android part. No. Next page, please. And I introduced the energy storage. And okay, let's go next page, please. Yes, this one is popular in Nigeria. SPF 3.5 and 5 kilowatt and the 6 kilowatt. And we have our 5 kilowatt battery and the 16 kilowatt battery. We have our dealers have the logos out here. Free to contact us. We're supported here. And right now this one is coming. This one, the space is occupied very small. Maybe some people will like it. In the exhibition, many people is interested in this one. So we have locals out here. If you're interested, contact me. Next page, please. And the single phase right now is the IP20. R20 is the hybrid inverter. It's 3.5 and 8 and 12. 12 kilowatt inverter right now. We have some cases. People is doing actually they don't use the hybrid. They prefer to the three single phase 12 inverter. Burning become the 36, and people here use the the 25, the 30 kilowatt. Use the three units, 12 kilowatt. Comparing is more costless. So we have here local stock you can contest with. And this one is IP65 for some the kind of region where if you want to put outside, you can outdoor, you can use this one. And this three phase here. And today we display some the sample here. After the Q&A part, we can visit especially in 25. It's our new version. It's a low voltage here. Some the bank projects, they are right now requirement not high frequency right now. They're more interested in the low frequency. They can paralleling pairing up to 9 minutes. And this at battery side, IP265 5 kWh and IP20 5 kWh. And we have many choices you can use. And we also please next page where we will have the indoor, the liquid cabinet. Next page, please.
This is a
Yes, this is three-phase hybrid inverter here, and the WIT is our hybrid inverter. We have here local stock. We have the 25. This is 650, 2550 kilowatt, and 100 kilowatt local here. And this for some of the many cases. And this one in our office will have 16 kilowatt hour. You can visit it's very close our the office in Silverbird. You can visit we have the real one, this one. You can visit our and some cases part and we have the 5.9. It's kilowatt hour is and it's new one here. 206 one is liquid cooling. This one is air cooling. So up to your project requirement, and it's all-in-one solution. Okay, please next page. Yeah, that is the new launch will be launched next year. Please.
Next page.
Next page. Yes. Next page, please. EV charger part. I know some EV employee and like children hotel they have the EV charger, EV charger station. We also have it's a 7 kilowatt and 22 kilowatt AC charger. You can contact us. This next page. There's AC charge. Yeah, you can take picture wait if you need. And after the training, I will share the details if you need. And we have smart in energy management. And you can monitor your project, your home use. Next page. And the smart monitor all asset product. And our engineer will give you more details introduction. Okay. Yes, next page. Yes, in this picture is not showing. It's actually with on the project site in the Australia. Okay. Yes, it's 6 mega, but in US. Nothing. I think this picture is not
it's not complete.
Not match. This
okay.
Next page.
Okay.
This one is in US. US 60 units. Please next page. These are some cases. I share those many cases what we have in Nigeria after the training. The people we can see. Yeah, it's all-in-one solution. In Nigeria, we have some cases here. This one in Nigeria. This two is in Nigeria. Can check this two in Nigeria. It's a user 2. Okay, this one's in Ukraine and Germany. Yeah, we have China, we have some megawatt front. We also have the brother company artists. We can do the mega above the mega project. You can contact me. We already have the cases in Ogon and in Abuja, 2 mega and 3 mega. Okay. It's in India. Brilliant. Okay. 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 My next part is Jeanette. Jeanette will. Jeanette.
Thank you. So I'll be calling on Genex. Genex is one of our partner, one of our high state partner. And I want to use this opportunity to tell all of you that if you need any of our products, you can always reach out to them. And you'll be assured that you're getting the Jenny product. So please put your hands together for the Genex team.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to warmly welcome us to the Growatt Installers Training Conference. Thank you all for taking out time to be here out of your busy schedules. So at Genex Technologies, we are passionate about advancing the solar industry by providing quality products, technical support, and continuous training. So, and that's why we're excited to partner with Growatt as their partners to collaborate on this event, to equip installers and engineers with the knowledge and skills needed to deliver reliable solar installations. So we encourage you to participate actively, ask questions, and get the most out of the technical expertise available throughout today's sessions. We have technical experts here from Growatt that will take us through the different models of Growatt inverters available. So please ask your questions, interact, network, and we hope that you have a very insightful and rewarding experience today. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you so much. So right now we will start the training, and I'll be calling on one of our technical person, and then that is Blessed. So please welcome Blessed on stage.
Thank you very much, Mr. Felix. I'm so delighted to be here. I want to welcome everyone. Thank you for taking out your time, and I know everybody is busy. So today is going to be more interactive, and I understand that for Genex, they have quite a range of our upgrade products. So basically, I'll be focusing on the SPF series. So I'll be working on the properties of the machine and also what we can do on site. So it's going to be quite active, and I'll be welcoming our questions. Okay, we'll be looking at the upgrade inverters, and basically I'm focused on the on-site technical support for the SPF series. And as we all know, Growatt is dedicated to ensuring that we have reliable and also provide smart solutions for across Africa. One of the gaps we have in Africa is we don't have a reliable grid, and also there is need for us to have systems that are smart, and you can actually check them remotely. And this is one of the focal points most of our products have, to ensure that wherever the machine is installed in any remote areas, we can access it and have access to it. My name is Blessed Bawa, and I'm part of the after sales technical team for West Africa. So we handle issues not just in Nigeria, but in other countries for our commercial products, our hybrid products, and also our upgrade products. So today I'll be looking at 5 basic things for the SPF series. Firstly, we'll be looking at the off-grid product overview. And next, we'll be looking at some of our data sheets. And then we'll look at the installation overview. For that installation is quite important because I think there are some things we can share to avoid any issues of the machine. And then we also look at parallel functions and every other function. So firstly, this is just a range of the Growatt upgrade inverters for our region. And basically, we have the low frequency and the high frequency. So for some of our distributors, you might not really see some of the low frequency, or you might not see some of the high frequency. I think that is because of the demand. For example, if we look at low frequency here, XPF 6000, 12,000 dBm, that tells us that the machine
Sorry,
has
we can't see
12
your
output. It
slides.
can give 120.
Yeah, for those online.
Okay, those online are having issues.
Yes, you cannot see your slides, so please kindly look into that.
We see it now.
It's 220 to 40 output. So if I'm selling an inverter that is having an output of 120, it's going to be on special cases. And you know this is business. So you look at the needs of the people. So Global actually have these ranges. Now it depends on you what you want. So basically the low frequency and the high frequency inverter, they have different characteristics, but for our brands, we have them
Sorry,
in
Blessed.
the
Sorry, Blessed. We still can't see your slide. I think when you share the screen, yeah, it goes to a different. You're sharing. You're not sharing the presentation slide page, so we still can't see your slide.
This thing is affecting our section.
Mute screen. Please. Change your screen.
I shared the entire screen.
Okay, it's okay. It's
I
fine.
think
You can see it on
it's
the-
when I try to zoom it so that this other side will not show. That is when they don't see the screen. If I go there, they will not see.
You change the display. You just show the duplicates.
No, it's okay.
Don't worry, let's go ahead.
So if I try to zoom it, they will not see. Okay. Was he here? Yeah.
Sorry
So
for
the
the
thing is
technical
distracting
issue.
here.
So I'm sure those online now can have a quick glance of what we are viewing here live. So just to confirm,
Okay. Please confirm if you can see the slide now.
I'm seeing it.
Okay.
The mic.
We have to mute them.
Yes, the mic, I mean, it is
Yeah,
now.
we can. I can see the slide now, but it needs to share the entire screen so that we can see clearly.
so the operator on 24 and 48 was like, as we all know, some of these inverters, the low frequency and the high frequency inverters, they have some physical characteristics. You will know, one, the low frequency inverters, they are heavy. The weights, they have quite some amount of weight, while the high frequency are light. And also for the MOSFET switching, the high frequency is faster, while the low frequency is much more slower. But at the end of the day, we still get our required voltage to power our appliances. So let's look at the first one we have here, which is the SPF 2000 to 5000 HVM. The HVM here just suggests high voltage. Now they're just calling the 230 to 40 high voltage, while the LVM 120, so that's the LVM there. But I want to focus on what we have in Genex. So Genex specifically sells the high frequency inverter, which is the HVM, and also the ES, which is the 5000 ES and the 6000 ES. So we'll be looking into these two machines and some of their major characteristics. One is, a much more improved version than the other, and we'll be talking about that in a second. So just a quick glance at the upgrade inverters. We have the low voltage. So yes, we have them as low voltage, and also we have them as low frequency and high frequency. So it depends on the distributor you are dealing with. You can still get the low voltage if you want, maybe for your you can still get the high voltage. So another thing people consider, even as installers, I believe a lot of us are, is the pricing. For the high frequency, it's quite much cheaper. The low frequency is a little bit, pricey. Please, next slide. So looking at this HVM, I'm not going to dwell too much on it, but it's like one of our first generation inverter, which all our upgrade has a power factor of 1. So our 5 kilowatt gives you the 5 kilowatt. It has integrated MPPT charge controller inside. It's compatible with generator power. And that means you can charge your battery with Gen and also grid, and you can also parallel them. And then the output, which is something you need to consider anytime you are picking this product, it's 230, which is okay for our appliances. Yeah. So now for the SPM 5000 ES, one of the major outstanding points for this particular model is the fact that it can start up without a battery. But this feature is only applicable when the machine is on standalone. So you cannot parallel this machine and want it to start without battery. So please take note that this machine without battery, it needs to be just as a single unit. So one of the perk of this SPM 5000 ES is that, when this machine came in, we had issues of a lot of our customers, or let me say a lot of people that were using inverter then, we're still using the lead acid batteries and stuff like that. And the most of the inverters we have then, the low frequency, the dependence on the battery was making it a concern because customers were not really seeing like value for their money, because if I should buy some set of battery and I'm replacing them in a short time, the investment does not really make sense. But this product helped us to achieve one thing: remove the reliance on battery during operation. And we observe that even for a lot of customers, they want to always come for this because they realize that, oh, there is no when there is sufficient PV power, the power does not need to come from the battery. It just supply directly from the panels, and this was really a very plausible one. So the 5000 ES, some of the features include that it has a power factor of 1. It has one solar electric charge controller which can do a maximum of 6,000 watts. So I'll be talking a bit about how the wiring for the solar panels is recommended that we should do. It also has the Wi-Fi GPRS. But some of us, we are on site, we can have problem with this Wi-Fi and GPRS thing. So please, it is very important that you take note of the kind of remote device you have. So the type of collector you have. If it is encrypted Wi-Fi, then you need to walk around with your home router. But if it's encrypted GPRS and you are doing, maybe you need to take note of that small details. It can actually take a lot of the time. But the GPRS collector, you need to include a SIM card inside of it. So these are two options, which depends on, oh, am I installing this machine in a rural area or in an urban area? That will decide. Maybe my customer does not have router in the house and he wants to ensure that he can hook up to the system. So these are some of the options. And then it's compatible with generator power, and it has programmable output priority, but I don't think most of us are interested in that. So you can do it for your customers. Maybe you want to ensure that as soon as this load is power, that load is off. Then it can be parallel. You can do up to 6. It's compatible with lithium battery. Yes, this inverter came in at a point in time where we are actually gradually moving away from lead acid. So we had a lot of lithium batteries coming in. And this lithium acid, we had a lot of lithium battery coming in. And these lithium batteries, you need to give them the right flow, voltage, and bulk, and all of that, and cut off. So a lot of other machines do not have those functionalities. So, and also, you can communicate it with the battery. It works. I've talked about that, and then it has the SUB work mode, which you can set. I want my priority to fall on solar first, utility, or battery. So it depends on you. So it came with a lot of options that I think made the price worth it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, this is for the DVM. Like as I said before, most of these you will not see them unless on special order. So a lot of our distributors don't have this on ground because how many of us will be looking out for a machine like this, except maybe you have telecom or what kind of special application you are looking out for. And you'll be looking specifically for a machine that has dual output. But yeah, Growatt has it if you need it. So it gives you the 120 to 240 AC output, and this machine is transformer based. So if you're looking for a transformer based inverter, you can go for this. And if you have an application that needs 120 and 240, then we have it here also. So for this particular machine, it has the inbuilt discharge controller. It has a low frequency transformer. We also have the Wi-Fi GPRS, and it's compatible with generator and also lithium battery. And the same thing for the SPM 4000 to 12,000 dBm. We can see the characteristics as the same. Next slide. Yeah, go to the next slide. Okay, now let's look at some of our machines, the data sheet review. So why the data sheet is important is most times when you are doing your design, no matter how small, I say if you do a small design, in a very accurate way, give it the right cable sizing, give it the right PV, then it's just you expanding it. If you have a CNI project. So it's the same thing. If you do the small one right, I think the Bible says if you are faithful in little, be faithful, you can handle much. So this is where we also need to pay attention to. You're getting an inverter, okay, and you know how many panels you are actually going to buy, how you're going to wire the panels so that the voltage is in right proportion for the machine. If you look at this SPF 5000, I'll focus on the 5000 because the 35.
I don't collect work off.
Okay. So if you look at this machine, we have the max solar PV power to be 6,000. So I think for the PV side, for us that we are the service center, most of the issues comes from PV, grid, and then also the battery. But most of the time, it comes from the PV, especially for customers that are used to some kind of low frequency inverter where it's looking strange for them to connect maybe 7 panels in series. Some of them are already used to it's 3-3 in parallel, 3-3 in parallel. So when you are not telling them, oh, do 7, you're not hearing stuff like before you started this thing, I've been there. But it's good that we look at data sheet. And if you are working with what the OEM say, I think you are the safer side because it's not by what I know. So that's why it's encouraged. And I want to say, like, for us here in this particular region, we should encourage one another to, if it is 5 minutes or some time, to always look at information that are written. They said most times something from a black man, they just write it. So those days, nowadays, we are actually, if that nowadays is for those days, and we're really doing exceptionally well, I must tell you, because a lot of us are handling bigger with in fact, machine now. The OEM is saying the MPD range is 120 to 430. So if you're an installer, the best range would be average. Like, okay, I want to make sure that my PV arrays can give me something like maybe 300, so that early in the peak, and even in the evening it will be the last to drop. I don't know if you get that. So if it's too close to this, actually the energy operating voltage of this machine is 150. So you can have 120 there showing on the screen. It'll be showing me icon, but it's not charging. So most times I see for those of us that like doing 3-3 and parallel, they will share with you that it's 120, but my battery is not charging, and the battery will be draining because we need to step up, the voltage. So I've discussed a lot about the SPM 5000, and we talked about it can be parallel to 6 units. You can do single phase, 2-phase, 3-phase, and stuff like that. Please, next slide. Thank you. Now, it's just like that was the junior brother, and then we have a senior brother that came in. But this SPF 6000 ES is like, how would I put it? It's like a response from Growatt concerning the issues that we have in Africa, especially when the SPF 5000 ES came in. We had lots of issues during installation, where during termination of the PV, a lot of us might not have great card. So when you're terminating it, you use mechanical screw. Immediately the carcass of it gives you error 09 straight. And then you see somebody sending you, I told this machine, and we've not used it on the installation side. You are getting a problem. That's because this standard. So to remove that, we have the 6000 AS, which comes with an MC4 connector. So now we need to get four connector and use a whole lot, and a lot of feedback for the machines are mostly on site when you don't do the proper thing. The cable sizing is not right, the breaker and stuff like that. So looking at the 6000 AS, it's the same thing, but now it has dual LVT. So it gives you the room to include more panels, because now this one can take up to 8,000 watts PV power. So if your customer has a roof orientation that is like A, you can put some here and put some here, and then at the end of the day, you still get something reasonable. So this is one of the key features of this 6000 AS. And then when you look at the pricing, the price for 6000 AS and 5000 is not much. And also, for this machine is twice of the value. So this can give us 12. But please note that this 12 is going to give you this for a very short time. So if you have inductive load from your customer, it's very important that you do the right calculation. And if one machine is not going to take the surge, please do well to do your proper sizing. For example, if all your inductive load and resistive load are working, and then someone puts on something that is going to be requiring like twice, it might shoot up or take more time. Some devices they might take more. They might take their search time is higher than the what the machine can provide, and then you get error like 58 and stuff like that. So please let's take that into consideration. I don't know how much time I have. I just want to quickly run review. I've talked about the properties of the 5000 ES. It can work without battery, single mode. On parallel, please ensure you have a battery bank. Next slide. Okay, the mounting is for this machine is to ensure that first of all, you don't mount it on flammable construction materials. It's not really good, because over time, the IMDF, it's like it's in fact it can be one of the things that start heating up over time. Your machine is on maybe if you have 6 in parallel now, and then you have MDF. I think even if you want to use a wood, it's better you use like the HDF, which is more expensive. But you need to get some profit. And then if you look at it on the long run, if it's possible, you can just put your machine down the wall. That is much more better. But if you're using a wood, I don't advise you use an MDF, because of it doesn't have long-term benefits and effect. So as you see here, you mount it on a solid surface at eye level, and the ambient temperature should be between 0 to 55. So I'll talk a little bit about this one because it is important. I see a lot of installation that are done in a generator house. And most times the generator, maybe because someone is telling you that I want my inverter to be outside, I don't want it to be inside, stuff like that. One thing about the generator house is that when other persons come and on their generator, that generator is producing fumes. And somehow that environment, the temperature is going to be high, and then it can affect some of these components. So it is important. So you don't have this, you don't spend too much time running from the customer client to service center. Customer client, please ensure you install it at the right place. And another thing is, if you are having the machine installed in parallel, please take note of the spacing so that we don't have too much, it's not too enclosed, so that you can have cross ventilation, and also take note of the fan underneath. So there should be no object blocking it, and also it should be far from the reach of children. I've seen a case where a child went to put pencil inside the what's it called, the fan, and then if you calculate the energy, the time you are using to not take it. So this is an example. They were installed in parallel, and if you see the arrow pointing there now, some of us, even after installation, it's difficult for you to even put the data logger, because you have carried the trunk, and even sometimes I see that you won't block the air vent. So now, this machine now is the circulation method is mechanical because they have fans inside. So if you now take your trunk and cover it, how do you want the vent, the machine to have it needs? And also, if you check the side of the machine is far from it, but you can see it from the side of the machine, you can see there are some air vents where, as the fan is taking the air from like this, it comes out from this side, left and right side. Now, if that place is also blocked, where would this air that needs to be expelled go to? It will now go to your IGBTs, your MOSFETs, and damage it, and then you now get different types of error. And this basically can be avoided. Please, next slide. Okay. Assuming we want to install, I know a lot of us here are professionals, so please forgive me. I'm not teaching you what you already know. I just want us to, have an idea together. Assuming we are installing some set of 550 watts panels, we need to also look at the data sheet of these panels. I know in the market we have a problem. What's the problem? We have falsified information a lot, especially for some kind of markets I will not want to mention. So please, when you are getting your panels, ensure you are getting it from a reliable source. Why that is important is so that you know what you are expecting. A lot of times we come and say, "Oh, my battery is not charging very well," but what kind of panel are you even using? If we should go and check now, we can see that maybe the panels they are not producing a good amount of power. So looking at this data sheet, this is from Chinko, and there's one major thing I want us to concentrate on here, which is the VOC and the IFC. Normally, when you are doing your design with VOC, it just tells you that no matter the condition, this is the maximum this panel can give. But I know some of us might be working with the VMP, which tells you the actual amount. But when you come to the service center and we are trying to scrutinize what you did, we work with the VOC because sometimes panels are funny. During the daytime, when the voltage is high, the current will be during the daytime when there is no much sun, voltage will be high, the current will be less. And these machines are prone to voltage is more. You understand? So most of the times it is very important, especially in dull weather, you can have I don't know if some of you have observed this. Maybe you have a machine installed and the customer is saying that they are having O3. That O3 now is just telling you that the voltage is too high on the bottom because one, at that particular time, when the sun is not up yet, the panels are giving you crazy voltage but low current, and it's affecting the machine. The machine now reports O3. And this is just from the design. So please check on the data sheet. For example, for this particular case, we have the VOC to be 49.6. So if I want to connect this kind of machine to the SPM 5,000 or 6,000, I should ensure that I cannot put 10 in series. Let's say I have 10 panels. Oh, how do I connect it? The best thing you do, you have to maybe do 5 and parallel it down. That have to give you the maximum performance of the solar panel. And also for the current, we know for this panel the maximum we can give you is 14, for example. And then if we are to parallel the panel, like as I mentioned the other time, it should not be of disadvantage because now it's too high. So you need to check. For example, if I'm to get this kind of stuff, I'm going to look at the current and say, okay, maybe if I parallel it, the two should not be theoretically it should not be more than 21. If the maximum there is 22. Considering voltage, where my panels are coming from, all of that, it will still, but as long as the theoretical value does not exist the product data sheet, we are fine. Yeah, next slide, please. Okay, so if you see in this case now, this example, we actually decided that for the kind of panel there, it's best to connect 8 in series. So when you connect 8 in series, it gives you a VOC of 396. It gives you a VOC of 396, and then you have a current that is okay with the you have a current that is okay with the machine performance, and also Yeah, you have a comment that is okay with the machine performance. Then one thing again I would advise we do, I don't know if any of you have noticed, when you're connecting the Growatt inverter, you realize that if you not ground the panels, you have some, funny voltage. Yeah, that would be disturbing. So it's advised that at least ground it. Some of us might not really have maybe the customer does not really provide all the stuff you need. But if it's at least just the rod and maybe the system, it's very, very much advised. And yes, I think this is next slide, please. So if you are installing the inverters, we encourage you to have some of these accessories. It's very important. It helps you as an installer, and it also helps the machine. For example, on the DC side, we advise you have a DC surge. You can get this. But one thing I need you to take note of is when you are buying your surge, check the voltage range. Sometimes we are installing a machine that can take maximum of 500 volts. We are putting a surge of 1,000. It's not going to work. If there's anything that comes in, it's going to pass through because it's doing its job. You are telling him 1,000 volts and then you put something. So it's very important to take a look at this and advise to look for 500 and get it in the market. But most times, when we buy it, the people that sell to the market, once you say, this is not what I want, so please let's take or pay attention to this one. And also for the breaker, yeah, you should get a 25 amps breaker and should be rated 500. Next slide. Fine. On the grid side, you should get a surge, an AVRO, and a breaker. So the reason why you're adding an AVRO to it is just to ensure that there is a blast on the transformer. That is not under your control. It's something that just happened. What can help in this case is those two devices at the front to ensure that, okay, if the voltage that is coming in is quite high, they will disengage and saves you the stress of having a machine damage. So this is really, really, really very encouraged. And also when we are doing our BMS communication for Growatt, the on program 5, you need to set it to protocol 51. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, let me quickly talk to you a little bit about the panel installation. I've mentioned it before, our machine can take a maximum of 6 for the SPF, 5,000 and 6,000 ES. So also, just like I mentioned, on program 5, when you are using this to compute the lithium battery for growers, you can set it. We have a battery configuration prototype for brands, and I think that will be shared after the meeting. So for other brands to Growatt can work with other brands like Pilot Tech and stuff like that. And I know some of us have found a way around most of these common brands and get it to work. But there is also a difference sometimes. Sometimes if you notice when you force it to work, it works. But then maybe on the app you might not see percentage, some small details might not be there. But then we have an approved list of battery compatibility that will be shared. So if you need that, you can work with that. Yeah, this is operation on parallel and in 3-phase. Okay, let me look at the. This is also quickly look at the site-related errors and what we can do to resolve this. So, for example, error 1, which talks about the fan failure. So, a lot of things can cause this. Most times, it's due to the installation environment, which is maybe you install the inverter in a generator house. It's in a dusty environment. It's accessible to children or unauthorized person. Poor ventilation, and it is installed in moist area. For example, this beach. If you install your inverters in all this beach area, you notice that over time the fan will be picking vapor and it will be making those stuff to get rust. So please try to get a very good installation point and install the machine. So the next one we have is O2, which is also still related to vent area, but it's in two categories. One is when it is installed in a poor ventilation area, and another one is when we have the internal NTC, for the machine. Maybe it's one out is damaged. So those are the major two causes. But then the one we can avoid, let's ensure we do that. So avoid block airflow, avoid high ambient temperature, avoid any nearby heat source like all these generators and stuff like that. Next slide, sorry. So error 08, this one is also one issue that we can have on site, which will come from different sources. For example, one, batteries. There are some batteries that can give you funny voltages. Sometimes maybe their BMS is not well coupled or something internally in the lithium battery is faulty. Or how voltage that is abnormal. Voltage of the inverter to exceed a particular threshold. And when that happens, come from PV side and also grid side, because the way the machine works is that there's a central bus voltage point where voltage from PV, voltage from grid, voltage from battery meets. That is why the inverter can start with PV, it can also start with grid, and it can start with battery. What's happening is because there's a central bus place. So if one of those sources is too high, the inverter will report error 08. So which most times we need to check your PV. If the PV is too high, maybe in the morning you're having this goes up and stuff like that. Please ensure you make the adjustment. Thank you. So I'll be taking questions. My time is up and we're already in the room. Thank you, please. I don't know how we'll take a question. We have just one mic.
Mr. Felix.
The hall is small, we can hear. Yeah, sir. Okay, 1, 2. Any other question will come up? So 3. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's okay. Come on, sir. Okay.
Like the other one we have, somebody was supposed to install the graphic was rapid. That we have at the point itself, connection randomize that. If you download, if you have all this download,
so I don't know.
so randomize
Recommendation such
Want to use the phone to do
the phone because we need channel.
it's better to use the system.
Yes, we use the system.
You send me the link.
Okay, okay. So let me show. So the on the equity inside is 1. Why? And it has inputs. So all your connections needs to be on one cable. So it depends on you. If maybe the come to one point, another particular instant, it depends on the panels are functioning. Then for the electrical, yes, and yes, the MPD or SPM, I think they are yes, sir.
Yeah,
That is right. I think yes. So if you check the data sheet, one side is 4K, one side is 4K. So if you put 8K on one side, it's going to damage. And the last question you mentioned, which is for your battery configuration, LI, it depends on the kind of. For example, if you're saying your client is using AGM, if you go to program 5 of the inverter, you will see AGM. Just select it. If it's flooded, just select it. Where the problem is now is lithium. When it's lithium, we have different protocols for it. If it's Growatt is either 51 or 01. Depends on, So just try 01. If it doesn't work, try 51. Depends on the battery. But like as I mentioned, we're going to share like a battery compatibility list you can check. Then for some other battery like Pylon Tech is 52. Just like that, different numbers. So if you install your machine, it's very important that you set the right so that the machine can charge very well. Any issues. I hope that answers the question. Yeah. So please number 2.
So like this one. The SPF 6000. You said you have two MPPT, which is 4,000, 4,000. Can we oversize panel? Not in terms of the voltage of the current. You said 8,000 watts, 4,000, 4,000. Can we do about 4,005 for each MPPT? So if you can oversize the panel, I just want to know how many percent can we oversize.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much for the question. So that question is to I will answer you like Growatt. So let me give you Growatt because this is Growatt position. If you are connecting above the rated power, you understand, you need to consider where my panels are to where the inverter are. How much power do I think I will lose before it gets there? That is one. Then secondly, are we dealing more with voltage or current? Because now the machine is more susceptible to voltage. If it gets too high, because for the current side, it can, try to, accommodate it. So to answer that question, I will say if there's an issue and you come to the service center, the answer you only panel review on it, and theoretically it's above. In the terms of Growatt, you will be in disadvantaged position. But then, if your distance, like I mentioned, if there are some certain side factors, that, or let's even do it like this: if your panel is big, like it does not have power, like the data is telling you 550, it's like 400. In that case, observe it. Most times we need to observe with our app. Check the maximum that that panel has ever achieved. If, for example, you connect 10, and no matter how the sun has been on everything, that panel has not given you more than 3. Then, in theory, if you add more panels, it does not really affect because it has not actually reached that point. But if you are dealing with rich info and have bigger brands panels that they are 500 is 500, it's expected that you stay within that range. But if you have to play with anything at all, let it not be voltage. Let it be that your VOC does not exceed what is on the stuff. I think if you want to do your playing, you can play around with maybe the current or so, but the voltage should be really not touched. I hope that answers the question. Thank you. So please, number 3. Okay, so the last question, please, sir. Yeah.
Morning, sir. Thank you for I have some quick questions. Actually, I just know hearing about Growatt, but I don't know what the SPM is. I don't know maybe that's about is it what you have on the slides that we are having here? Because you were fast with something, so for us to portray more, maybe it's something. Since we drop our numbers, doing something. Other things, we're talking about PV connection. And we said we can do if the plant is having 10 panels, and they can do 5 panels. So I wanted to know because at some point going in this way, I heard some people saying we cannot connect parallel. But what if the inverter is the maximum point for it is something below 20? We connect our panels from that 5. And let's say the panel we're working with G. We talked about so that's one is that. And we were also talking about connecting the inverter with battery. But you don't give us the ideal number. I don't know what I'm talking about. And the last one, so I will
forget
questions again.
Let him take them one after.
I will answer one after again.
Well,
So let's just interact. So the one I remember, you want to ask somebody. They said the panels, if you can connect them in parallel. So I think for the low voltage inverters, you can connect them in parallel as long as you don't exceed the maximum current for the device. Now, I give an example with Jinko. But then if you notice on the other slide, the amount that I'm working with the current. Each of the panels was given 14 ISC. The value was 14. So if we should parallel that, very much higher. So in that particular case, there are some panels you cannot parallel because the current is already high. For example, let's assume you have, I think we have 720 now. If you check 720 watts, the current there is like I think 17 or so. So now it's not advisable to parallel that kind of panel. The panels you can parallel are the ones like maybe 350, maybe they have maybe the ISC is like 12 or 10, and at the end of the day, you should not get up to the maximum. I hope that answers that. And also for the battery side you mentioned, you said, how do we connect it?
Let's get in the battery because I know we about
Okay, yes, talking about those values. If you check the input of every inverter, there is bulk flow. Sorry, of every battery, there is bulk flow. The value is there by that manufacturer itself. So this is two things. If you are using a lithium battery that is not Growatt, or that is not about is on program 5, you can set that defined. So that battery now, you are the one defining the parameters. You are now going to set the float, the bulk, the cutoff based on that battery OEM specification. There's no business to grow at now. It's now what is on that battery's nameplate. So you just go on program 5, go to US2 and set it. So I hope that answers it. Okay, sir. It's not done yet. Okay.
Yeah, we're talking about the slides. It's like what we have.
No, that's no. Just a introduction to show between the 5,000 and 6,000.
Wait, let's take one question from the online platform. It's very important.
Yeah, look at this panel now. About the panel 7. Showed us some slides on breakers and AVR. But you made mention of using the breaker of 25 amps. But it's not more than now the inverter is more than there's nothing.
Okay, thank you for that question. So if you check the market, we have ranges of breakers that are available. If you want to go by every inverter's actual rating, you will not get it. For example, let's assume for the big that is 20 amps. You go to the market and you start checking, you will not see 20 amps. The other thing is that this market is very, very sensitive. If anybody starts asking for 20, you get yes, I'm coming to that. So you will see that okay, you might not get that. Then also, if you put exactly that size, most of what will happen is that breaker will always be tripping. You understand? Anytime the customer will not be aware that the PV has gone off. Meanwhile, they will now the PV is off, they are now using battery. So you have to give it some tolerance. Most times you can make it 20, but you have 1.7, and then whatever you get, you give that value you can get in the market. You understand? So that helps you because most times you have to give some tolerance. You understand? I hope that answers the question. Yeah. Let me see the question right now.
Can you answer that? There are a lot of them. Somebody is asking, why is it difficult to connect the data logger? To configure the data logger. That's one of the questions from the online platform.
Yeah, but what I want us to do is because of the time.
Maybe we can answer
yes, because so that we can respond to them online later. Because of time.
So please, online, you can share our Zendesk support platform from Growatt. We have standby agents that will answer any of these questions for you. So you need to know about configuration. You need a file from us, maybe from the battery side. Please just send an email to our Zendesk support. Please, can you make it online so that they can share? So the last question, sir, you have a question? Okay, it's answered already.
I want to make reference to one thing you said about using user defined. Well, I think it's better, even if the customer is going to buy the items by himself. You as an engineer, that you be the one to install for him. You let him know batteries that are compatible with the inverter. Okay, I'll give you a scenario. This CS5000, some years back.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the customer bought 16S battery that could not communicate with that inverter. You know, we find it difficult to set the cutoff voltage. The cutoff voltage lock at 46. And if you have rough users of battery, then they can abuse battery. Normally, you peg them to maybe 47.6 or 48. Now, if you are using user defined, you may not be able to get to that 48. It will lock you at 46. So it's good you encourage the customer. Okay, if you are buying Growatt inverter, these are the batteries that are compatible with it. So you have a seamless battery to save your head.
It's like, another comment on that question. So that's why I said, get the data sheet, understand what's going on, and then have a pre-plan before you go to site. Or also advise the client, let them know what to expect. Oh, you've already got the battery, this is the downside, this is it. So thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir. One last question so that I can give.
I've been on the swing back at 5 kV. They have a load of about 40% of each of them. But once there's break and the people go up, we'll pick 5 up and we take 5 up and the other goes up. And you have to start with 1. So I'm asking what's the setting? So like I don't know if that's a system.
Okay, so first of all, let me explain what's going on. Probably for that kind of machine that is, you have a running load that is showing up. There's high chances that load is in the moment it takes and it wants to pick up again, it is asking for my P1 the inverter cannot deliver at that point. So at that point it shuts down. That's what's happening. So what will happen most times is maybe one of the inductive load now is tricky. Most times someone will tell you that give me 5,000 ES, 5 kilowatt inverter. Put 2 AC, but I'll be controlling it. That is very important. Yeah, that is true. So when for example, like the solution that happen, they are on one and they see that one is working very well. They are humans, they will not go on that one and they will be observing. The movement never takes time. That is when it's wrong. So for that kind of case, let me just advise you on the output side, put an AVR, set the maximum you want. The machine will not be turning off, but the AVR will be turning on. That way it saves the machine. Thank you very much.
A round of applause for Leslie. We have a WhatsApp group. So I think after this we share the link. So those that are not there, you can always come back there and ask any questions. So please let us give him a round of applause again. And then someone was asking a question there. SPF, SPE, single phase. Okay. SP, single phase. So the E, they are like series, just like Samsung will tell you 5 series and all that. Okay, so right now we want to welcome Mr. Gabriel. So Mr. Gabriel will be coming on board to come and give us the training for our SE. Right? Okay, please give him the round of applause.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be in our presence this morning. And I would like to welcome you to today's discussion, which focuses attention on single-phase hybrid inverters. And we shall be looking closely at family of inverters called SPE 8,000 to 12,000 PS series. What is the beauty about this inverter? It's a kind of advantage on the SPE series, and we shall soon find out about that. And it starts from the It starts from the physical appearance of this inverter and some other functions that we can realize in the SPE series inverter. And let me start by addressing this part of the advantage of the SPE inverters over the SPF that has just been discussed. For the SPF series, we have it to be more of mechanical screws, like my colleague mentioned earlier on, right? You have to use a screw or power screw to drive in the TV and the lights. Okay. So these are the contents. Next slide. So if you look at this physical appearance, this is the
Sorry, we are not seeing the slides.
inverter series.
We can't see. Thank you.
You don't need your mechanical screws, screwdriver, flat, or it has a buckle part. All you need to do just what? On Tuesday, for the PV or for the
Engineer, give your slides.
Share the slide not showing.
We can't see your slides, please.
Right, I just buckle it and it will be fair. So no need to like, oh, double confirm again, it's passing.
Yeah, we can see the slide now. So I guess you can continue.
This is not it's not good. They are not young.
$8,000. The second one is 12,000, and the third one is 12,000. And they have different ranges of PV capacity they can hold or sustain. So we'll discuss that later on. And the good news is this: for the very first time, like somebody asked earlier on, you can decide to shoot over 450, even over 500 VDC. You are safe with SPE. But it has a tendency to 450 volts. Meaning what? If you want to series what 10, you're going to be looking for it will absorb it depending on the VOC of the panel you are working with. But you are sure that you can go beyond 450. That we have with what? The SPM series. Why? The SPE can do what? 550 volts. So take note of that. Then there is what we call built-in automatic transfer switch. What does that want to do again? This inverter has the ability to accept the utility power source and simultaneously take that of the generator. Do you get that? So that means that what? If you hook up your generator now to the inverter, because there's a gen port and there's also what? Grid port. So there's an 8 years that have to what? Transfer the switch. So that if this gen that is operating now, probably there's a failure from the electricity power supply. So it will send a gen and switch there. Doesn't need what? Any human intervention. Then you can parallel up to 9 units. That's another good news. Unlike the SPE, as far as SPF family, what's the maximum? 6. But now you can do what? You can do more. 9. The condition, the constraint is that you cannot do such without battery. Because though it can work without battery, but that's a one point. But when you want to have cascade in parallel, you must get what? Battery connected. Another thing is that what? It works with what? CT. CT means the current transformer, which helps to what? Checkmate either if you choose to feed back to the grid or not. Because this inverter has the tendency to feed back to the grid. You know that in Nigeria, that aspect is not yet in action. So that's our with time, when Nigeria maybe the next 2 years, let's start. The SPE is what is the way to go. It's ready. Thank you. So that meanwhile, you are bringing the future closer to your doorstep now. So that's what when NAC and maybe NEMSA and the rest say go ahead and what feed to the grid. The solution is what is right beside you. Do you get that? All right. The other one is what is compatible with what a good number of what batteries ranging from the lithium, gel, flooded, and the host of them. And I've mentioned that part anyway, that is able to work with or without grid. And I've mentioned that what it has dual output also. I will see that very soon. So it has dual input and dual output. So that's another one, good news. So next option, please. Now let's take a closer view on the overview. If you see the PV features there, for the SPE 12,000 ES, it can do 15,000 watt peak, or simply say 15 kilowatt peak. Why the 10 kilowatt inverter can do what? 12.5 kilowatt peak, and that's massive. And the last born of their family can do what? 10 kilowatt peak. So that's what now. Each of the MPPT, if you are working with the SPE 8,000, you can then choose to what? Allocate 5,000 per input. So that means what? This one can take more. It can take enough panel. It once the field of your rooftop is good to go, just keep up the panel. SPE is there to accommodate it for you. So the other point is for us to note that what the voltage that is what working allowed at this point is what 550 volts, and the minimum is what around 120 volts. But even this inverter, when it sees around 60 volts, I'm telling you, the PV icon with the what activated is ready to what to fire to get the job done for you. All right, the other one is the DG input feature. This one is just for people that want to like interpolate with the DC generator DG. So what are the criteria or features that should be in place before it will be connected to the XPE inverter? So we have to be 170 volts to about that's say 280 volts, but we don't need to waste time on that because we are not really working with that aspect. Next one, please. So this one is for the grid feeding. That is if it's allowed in Nigeria, but for now, this region we are in is not allowed. So we're going to like waste too much time there. But let's quickly take a closer view on this load output. So like I mentioned, it has two load output. The first one is the backup output, and the power remains the same. The discharge current for each of the SPE series as follows. For the 12,000 ES, it can do up to 280 amps. While for the 10,000, it can handle up to 240 amps, and for that of the SPE, it can do 200 amps. And they are all having a nominal AC voltage of 230 volts AC. Now, for the smart load, the good news is that once you hook up all these loads to any of the family, the 3 members, they can actually accommodate a whooping sum of 8,000 watts of smart load. Meaning that what? Let's assume we are working with the 12,000 ES. You can dedicate what? 8,000 as smart load. The remaining what? For backup section. Do you get that? But if you are working with 8,000, You can choose to do, okay, let me do 4,000 for smart load and 4,000 for the backup, depending on what you have at the site or based on customers' request. Next slide, please. Now, as per the installation, my colleague has mentioned this part that we need to be careful the way we install. Preferably, to install any of Growatt's inverter, we should ensure that the surface we are mounting these inverters are actually what? Non-combustible. Very, very, very important. That's why he mentioned that we should not use MDF, but rather use what? HDF. So please take note of that. Then, as I mentioned again, the spacing of these inverters is very, very key for proper ventilation. Because just like when we are choked, we are not breathing very well. Then it will have what a kind of impact on our health. In the same way, these inverters need what proper ventilation. So we don't joke about ventilation when we are to install. Very important. And we should always ensure that when we install these inverters, our customer doesn't need to go and rent ladder or buy ladder just to view the LCD screen of the inverter. You see some places they have to go and get ladder and be watching like this. What's there? No, we are punishing customers. So we should always try to use what high level of the LCD screen. It's very, very key. This slide, please. All right, this reflects to the AC input and output voltage or electrical cable standards required for the SPE part. So for the SPE 12,000, 10,000 ES, they share almost the same 70 amps rated or rate. Okay, but the most important part is for the AC output wire sizing. If you look at it now, for the 8,000, the recommended is what? 8.37 mm squared. But unfortunately, here in Nigeria, we can't get that value, right? That is what the best bet for us to work with you now be what get 10 mm. So it's better we go that route than undersizing to prevent what a kind of futuristic incident. So and the other one is what 13.3. If you can't get 13.3, what do we go now? 16 mm. Because it's high capacity system. And this means that people that are having space constraint will say, oh, let me use 2 units of SPF 6,000 years because I need a system of what? 12,000. Can simply use what now? SPE 12,000 years. And with that, what happened? That's what? You get to use your space. No need like, oh, I need more space to run my trunk and the rest. Let's start it. All right, this is just the installation schematics. If you look at it closely, we have the aspect of smart load. You can see that. Then we also have the aspect of the normal load going there. Each of them having their own word, input or output breakers. Very, very key. And alongside, if you look at that grid, there is what? CT there, which is current transformer. Shortly, we will see how we wire the CT to the system. Then if you look closely, for the PV side, there are 2 inputs there. Also with their own individual MCB breaker, alongside with that of the battery breaker. I've seen some installation, they will just, probably because of cost or costing cost, they will just what? Hook up the inverter to the battery. So after all, there's a switch on the battery or there's a switch on the inverter. It's not good for your health. There's a need for us to introduce a breaker. And God so good, even though Schneider is expensive, ABB is a no-gray area, Librand is not smiling. James is there, is smiling. Postmix is smiling. Zero and some. Just to mention a couple of components that are still good, because the say, I have to call because customer is not paying very well. By the time the call starts, you be the one to sleep with one eye closed. Why? Because you miss it from the onset. So let's do the right thing. Thank you. So next slide, please. All right. This is how to now what? Communicate the inverter SPE family with the lithium iron phosphate battery. So we're going to program it. We'll still get to that part shortly. To program it, and we use the program 23 to either make it work in parallel, right, a single phase or a 3-phase. So by so doing, one of these inverter we end up as the word host or master inverter. So the BMS port on the host inverter or master inverter will now be linked with the battery via a LAN communication cable to establish a proper communication capability between the two. And like my colleague has mentioned, if you get to Protocol 36, there's a number you see there. It's ranging from what? L01 to L99. So if you look at L01 to L50, it means you are actually working with what? RS485 ports. But when you work with 51 to what? 99, you're actually working with what? CAN. And you cannot mix it. More often, Growatt understand the language of CAN. CAN is what? Control Access Network. So you go to program 5 from there, pick 36, then from there you take the protocol. And mostly Growatt batteries are L51, but for other third-party batteries, the protocol changes. So we'll do well to share the compatibility list of batteries with its team. Next slide, please. All right, here we are. This is now cascading the SPE families in single-phase connection. Now, there is a kind of development. And what is that? The SPE family uses what we call deep switch. Deep means dual inline package. So if you look at it, each of the inverter has what? Its own deep switches. Okay? Now, if you are trying to install them either in single phase or three phase, and you do not activate this deep switch, it will not work. So that's why you have to pay rapt attention. So what do you need to take note? The first born and the last born. That's what you face. You focus attention on it. So what does that mean now? For the deep switch of the first inverter, you must what? Activate it by turning it what? On. You can see there 1 1, right? Then the last born is what? Also turned on. But in between the line of the generation of inverters that are trying to hook up, everything can be what? 0. If not, that inverter will not work from now till tomorrow. You just be calling people, you know what. You fail to what? Activate the deep switch. So it's very, very important. So next slide, please. So for the three phase, deep switch is also involved. So you still have to activate what? The first inverter and the last inverter. All the inverters in between, no need to do that. Leave them on 0. One more thing that we need to take note, which you will soon find out later on, is that I've seen the situation with those that some people they tend to install individual MC breaker to these inverters. What that means, maybe you are using 6 in parallel. Then each of them will carry what? Their own individual breaker. So the issue is this. So far you are not a Superman. How do I mean? Failure to on all these breakers at the same time. You are calling, not 911 in Nigeria now, you are calling a particular warning. I hope you get that message now. So what I'm saying that this inverter now, once you don't on all your breakers at the same time, it will call something for you, a warning sign. So that is why when we are installing, we need to look inwardly to see how we can overwrite that issue. And one example could be, instead of you to use 2-pole breaker, you can explore what? Maybe 4-pole breaker, such that it will not be each of the inverter we have what? 1. So that by the time you lift the lever up, everything gets to the inverter simultaneously, no time lag. So meaning what? They won't call out an alarm or warning for you. Do we get that? The same thing applies to the output also. We don't all the inverters, so they also make sure they are school at the same time, but not that you have to not like from 1, 2, 3, 4. No. So take note of that. Next slide, please. All right. This is now how to systematically install the CT onto the inverters. So if you look closely on the inverter base, there's a part called EXT, which means external current transformer. So it has a kind of a connection there, label 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you see that? So your attention should be drawn on the number 1 and 2. So you will simply put the cables on the CT onto point number 1 and 2. But the good news is that there is no rule. Why? Because for transformer, you only have what? Start and end, right? So you can put any color there, okay? It will still work there. But you only pay attention to the arrow inscribed on the C. And that arrow should face the word inverter. And also, you should clamp only the live wire. Don't vex and clamp what? Live and neutral. What will you get? 0. You won't get anything to cancel out you are going to see this other the kind of neutralization will take place. So you only clamp the live cable, and you have to ensure that the CT is installed, not inside the inverter. So people ask this as if you are collecting your money. No. You should ensure your CT is installed so close to the DB of the building. Okay, mind you, this CT has a long wire already. Do you get it? So just extend it. Don't house it inside the mini flat of the inverter. No, it must come out and make it so close to the wall, the DB of the site. So please take note of that. Next. All right, so quickly we look at the settings of the SP family and next. Okay, so these inverters, the SP 12,000 and 10,000 and 8,000, they have something special to offer you. Unlike the SPF family that we only used to what? The SUB, SBU, and what? Solar First, right? This one has something more to offer. And why? Because the nature of what that can do in the nearest future, which is what? Selling to the grid or the line. So the first CY1 is called the on-grid mode setting. So you can set this inverter to work in what we call on-grid mode, which you cannot really accomplish with what? The SPF families. So take note of that. And what happens? Luckily, this chart we have here, this table, is already labeled or stated on our manual. So we're going to rack our brain. I will only tell us what is very, very, very important. And let's look at it closely, please. Now, look at this program number 67. We see what's there now, please. What's there? Enable. So please take note. Once you enable program 67, the system will not allow you to alter program 1 again. And program 1 is the normal program that we are all used to. So what's the program now? Solar First, followed by what? Utility, followed by what? Battery. Is that taken out? Nobody can alter that program again. Why? You have activated what? Program 67. So take note. So I don't say, it's not working. You now call General Roberts because somebody, I pressed from that yesterday, it's not working. Please, what's happening? The person has asked what? Activated program 67. Do you get that message, please? Secondly, once you still activate that program 67, I'm sorry to tell you, your number 14 will remain SNU. You can never get what? CSO, OSO. Do we get what I'm saying? So don't say the buttons are not working or the inverter is not working. You are the one that called that into action. Why? You have enabled program what? 67. So this program 67 now is to now prepare the inverter to be able to work seamlessly with the CT in trying to feed back to the grid. Do we get that now? So take note of that. So the like I said, everything is well spelled in the manual as in this number, so you need to rack your brain. But I'm only calling attention to that number what? 67. So I don't call, inverter is not working. I'm trying to change to SOL, change the number 14. It should change because I have enabled program 67. Next slide, please. So the same thing, if you look at number 67, it has been enabled, yes or no? Do you see number 7? So if you look at number 1, what's there? SUB, it should change. Then look at number 14, what's there? SNU, solar and utility to charge the battery. So you can't change it because you have enabled 67. So, and that is what we call the zero export limit mode. If you look at it closely, if you look at this diagram now, there is CT here. Do you see that CT? This CT somewhere there. So that is used to checkmate that current is either flowing to the grid as you're feeding in or you are not feeding it. It's all about the programming. The next one, please. So this one now, you can see, look at 67, please. What do you see there? Disable. So once you disable it, you are now in authority to determine what will happen in program what? 1 and program what? 14. And that's why if you look at 14 now, what's there? CSO, not Chief Security what? Officer here, though. So our CSO is what? Only allow PV to charge until there is no PV again, the grid can take over. So SBU, if you want SBU, if you want solar only, you can change it in program 1. So that is what the idea about the setting. That's the most important part that we need to take home there. Next one. So it's also enabled with Wi-Fi, like you have informed. So we have types of data logger that you have informed. We have the one that is color white, yes or no? And we have the one that is what color black. So this one uses what the color black, and you have to activate your Bluetooth. That's different. The white one, you need to activate Bluetooth before it communicates. But with this black one that comes SPF 6000 ES family and the SPE 8000 to 12,000 ES family, you need to what? Turn on your Bluetooth before you can proceed with your plant creation and adding data logger. So nothing has changed. Everything remains the same. So just scan the code from the manual, and I believe some of us have this plant already. From there, you are good to go. Now, this is now the anatomy of SPE inverters. If you look at the COM board, from the word COM is what? Communication board. So that's what we use to establish communication between the inverter and battery, and also to the Wi-Fi dongle. Then there's a relay board. Take note of that. Unlike the former brands of inverter, the relay are actually on the main board. Do you get that? But the SPE family is isolated, and we call that relay board. Then, unlike the other family, the power circuitry is on the main board. But this time around, the power is on its own up there. It has its own circuitry, its own board. And the FMT is somewhere there. It's dual, like I've mentioned. So that is it. And they are actually independent. And it also has its own main board there and control board. So those are the anatomy of the system. Just like this. So for the working topology diagram, so this is it. So we have the MPPT, you put your PV and the gen, and there's a conversion, right? So it's a bi-directional conversion to get work done. And there's a kind of a bus voltage where everything meets the PV, the battery, the grid, be it from the gen or from the utility. Next slide, please. All right, quickly we look at the maintenance. Though my colleague has mentioned a good number of that maintenance. So we should also just take note that there is difference between W and F when displayed on the screen. W means what? Warning. F means what? Fault. For every warning you get, the inverter will still work. It give you output. But once you see F is like no, no, not again for now. Okay, but I have a good news for you. Unlike the regular inverters that we have in the market, you cannot really interact with the inverter until you take it to the SVC, right? But with Growatt, once you press the up and down button together simultaneously, it will unleash the what? The communication for it to what? Reprogram the inverter. So once you press the up and down button together, it will change the interface. You will see pass. That pass is like password. Then you see triple zeros. So once you get to that stage, you have to enter 305. Do you get that? So once you press 305 by navigating with that arrow, 305, what's this 305 there? You now press enter. It will reset the inverter. And so many errors have been cleared like that, just by Suji. But for the rest inverter, you have to take it, decommission it, right? Carry it like a bag of cement, take it to SBC. No. You can do that. The only constraint is that if you are not the one that installed that stuff from the installation from the beginning, you might run into what? Issue. Why? You might not know what to put in program one, because that 305 will reformat the plane of the inverter to new bombage. So that's what second chance. So but the issue is what? If you do not document those numbers, okay, what I put in program one, what I put in program three, that's what I'm saying now, you forfeit it, because the brain will be what? Reprogram and reboot. What's in program 01? Yeah, so maybe SBU program, that's something else. So you have to start all over again. That has been used to cure so many errors. So take note of that. So there's another code which I'll give to you later. But please, we need to be very careful. When we are doing that, we should make sure load is disconnected. Not that everything is running smoothly. Not do that. No. Just ensure only private battery is connected before you do any factory reset. Very, very important, please. All right, so for FO1, my colleague has mentioned that it means what? Fan is locked. Okay, so it means either because of poor ventilation, right, and some other issues. So another one is what FO2, which is what abnormal temperature, and we have seen so many cases that this FO1 and FO2 they are almost brothers and sisters. How? We've seen situation whereby the place or installation site is not good enough for this inverter, but they are forcefully forced to be installed there. Why? Because customers are they don't really they don't want the output from the inverter. They don't care for the lifestyle of or what the experience of the inverter is. So you see that when you open some inverter, the inverter now, I've seen inverter before, even Work Gecko has an apartment there, two self-contained. And when that's very good, thank you. When that Work Gecko, and that's why I will say this now briefly, that those places we put our cables through. Once you are through, if you are still cut fiber and what block it. Why? I've seen cases that Work Gecko, they will enter there young. They will not be feasting on spider that find their way there. Before you know it, they will have a big body. And as they are having big body, the distance between the board and the carcass, as in the inverter board, is not much. What happened? It will go on diet. What happened? And because their body is all fluid, it's not do what? Short-circuit system and get what? Error 9. So why don't you just quickly block it before customer begins to call you out? Okay, that inverter, you know they work. Maybe I will sleep. So, but you can easily what? Avert situation now by making sure what, you plug all the holes on the inverter part after you have run your AC cable, battery cable, and the rest like that. So the other one that I would like to stress on because of time is, okay, let me just talk about number 1, 15, 16, 17. So now for warning 15, once you install the inverter in 3-phase and you do not ensure that all the breakers are on simultaneously, it will give you warning 15. Do you get that? Now, when you now have issues is remember that in Nigeria code, we have what? Red phase, yellow phase, and what? Blue phase. If when NEPA now, or what you call PHLT, they now mount the pole and do magic there, they change the phase sequence to what we call any other. That is now yellow, blue, red. You will get a bouncy baby boy called W16. Do you get that now? So that is why if you are installing, you have to go with what? A phase sequence tester to ensure that everything is what? Red phase, yellow phase, and what? Blue phase. Once you do that, bye-bye to what? W16. But once the what you get the bouncing baby what? When you see 17 flashing on the inverter screen, is one of us is still in SIG, single phase. Most of us were what? PAL, PAL. Do you get that now? How do you what? Often again for this 17 at the bottom of our inverter, that color is carrying a stock at that side and to enter into the inverter. So it now gave us what? 17. Do you get now? So once we now discover that breaker is what? It's kind of stuck. We just pump it. So we have other errors there, but because of time, I'm going to take it. But I will just call attention to W27. So we've seen cases that warning 27 appear on SPE inverters. Right? Give what? Output, because it's just what? W. So if you want to now overwrite it, what you to do is what? You press up and down on the screen again, simultaneously. It will pop up PAS, pass, which is like password. You will now enter 111. You enter 111 as in 111 instead of what? 205. So that 111 things, but we need to be very, very careful. So I don't be like you overdo things. Some people now want to be exploring. So don't go too far. Just stay on the lane. You are wicked. Okay. So because you can do a lot of practical or so many things there. So you go to when you now navigate to that 111, you enter 85, right? You keep press just like you have from program 5, you get to what 36. Do you remember? So and then from there you pick your protocol. But this one, once you enter the 111, you navigate until you get to what 85. So once you get to 85, you meet it on enable. Do you get that? 7. Do you get that? So for some cases, we might have discrepancy on battery voltage displayed on the screen and what you have on the battery. They can also use that code to do the battery calibration, but we need to be very careful. Then for the grid also, when the grid is showing 230 and the 230 that to careful. Thank you. Let's just assign number. So 1, 3, 4. Let me just have one more question. Yeah.
My question is all this configuration allow methods and it's supposed to be if we use are we still going to be getting all these are we still going to go through all these configuration settings?
The answer is 2 years. Exactly. It's as if you bought a car, be it Toyota brand or wherever you are, right? You still have to go to mechanic. Yes or no? You want to have battery for they are like serving you. So you have to instruct them. Hey, you, I want to do what? SUB. Hey, you, I want to propose that difference. I did not move from what AGN to which we entertain questions. If you want to speak with the site or probably even during installation, I need a support. You can do well. To reach out to us. Okay, yes. So for my colleague Edina Bless, we had add everyone to celebrate and probably have an on-site person. We are always there to absorb bombs and resolve issues. Okay. Okay. Okay, confirm that he has experienced warning 27 on the inverter. So these errors are well spelled out. Even this code I was giving you, 309 again. We only have this manual, we don't read them. You get it? You only pinpoint what do I need to do to really make it work and you go to my house. You get it? Yeah. So these codes, all these codes, and the 111 and the 305 I mentioned is not new. It's already in the manual, but we don't pay attention to get to the back of the manual. Once we go through some program, quickly set it, you don't work, or God, they go in the house. You should get what I'm saying. So everything is already spelled out in the manual. I hope I've answered the question. Yeah, next person, sir. Who was that? Okay, sir. Yeah, please go on, sir. Thank you, sir. All right. Well, that's good to know, sir. So let me start by coming back to this email. So once you send us mail to service.ng@Growatt, if it's what needs the attention of individual engineer, pre-sales or after sales, right? We will assign it to you. You get that, sir? Hope I've answered that aspect. Then as per the presentation or document, I'll speak with my colleague to see what we can do about that, sir. But it's shareable. All right, let's okay.
My question is towards the smart load program.
Okay, sir.
I explained about the SP families. I'm not sure that you are restraining to 8,000. Can it be adjusted to lower value? For example, if I use 8,000 now, and you say a component that must go to 6,000. It depends on customer request, maybe some servers or other equipment. It's adjustable to any defined limits, or is this pegged to a particular?
Thank you for that wonderful question, sir. So let me address this again. All the three members of the family, their names are 12,000 SP 12,000 ES, SP 10,000 ES, and their last born SP 8,000 ES. The good news is this: they have the same smart load power to handle, which is what? 8,000. That's now left for you. So you can choose based on, at least we have idea about the nameplate, or that will not be your song. We say, okay, if I have, if it is 60, you put it, and the good is around what you have loaded it up to. Okay, that's 8,000 for everybody. So you have right to do 1,000, 6,000, 4,000, no rule. Why can't you say 8,000? Thank you. I think that will be all for now. Thanks so much. Okay, question online. Is there Robert? Questions of maybe. Okay, yeah, I can send that question. Please, because of our time constraint, please do well to send the question to service.ng@Growatt, please, so that the screen can proceed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. I hope that was very interesting, and I hope something that we are going to take home with. So we are going to call on Michael. Michael is going to be taking us through the all parts of the SPE products. Okay, right? SPM. So please put a round of applause for Michael.
Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you to this the last training. My name is Michael. Looking at the SPM series, the family of the SPM series, and they are popular and some places that they work during the day. So like for industrial use, like the banks and places that they work during the day, this inverter is much needed because of its power accommodation. This the 10,000 TL can take up to 20,000 watts of solar power, which will make you not to get an external charge for that. Whenever you want to generate more power for your PV during the day, and you don't have money for batteries, you need to have an external charge controller for you to be able to utilize the production of the solar panels using your PV. But for this inverter, you don't need to go and get an external charge controller, and you don't need to get for the SPF and the SPE. You don't need to add another inverter whenever you want to generate this capacity of load during the day. So for the 10,000 TLH, it can be able to take solar power of 20,000 watts. And for this 8,000 TLH, it can take 16,000 watts. So you can see the uniqueness of this inverter. You also have a DC and AC ratio of 2. And the PV input voltage is 130 to 550 volts. And one unique part of this inverter is that the MPPT tracker, it has 3 MPPT tracker. That is 6 range from MPPT. Have 3 MPPT tracker. And for the 10,000 TL, the MPPT current, the MPPT tracker is 16 amps. And also gives you the room for the last MPPT tracker to be able to extend your PV to 32 amps for the stretch for the MPPT tracker port. And but take note, that is for the 10,000 TLH. For the 8,000 TLH, you can see it has 3 MPPT tracker, but it's the maximum current is 16 amps the MPPT tracker. You can see the battery type. This is one important aspect of this inverter. This inverter supports low voltage batteries. Even with the feature of the IP66 and the power operation, it still supports a low voltage battery of 48 volts. Then it can also support your lead acid batteries. Support both lead acid battery and the lithium battery. And the maximum charging current of this inverter is 20 amps. 200 amps, sorry, 200 amps. Sorry, 200 amps. So you can, as you can see, the AC short current, circuit current of this inverter is also 100 amps. Then the maximum grid bypass current is 63 amps for both the SPM 10,000 to SPM 8,000 TLH. That is on the grid aspect. Then for the off-grid, the peak power for the off-grid, the ratio is 1.2 times of the rated power in 5 seconds. That means if this inverter is 8,000 TLH, in 5 seconds, it can take a load of 9 amps, and it can still stay without having defect within that 5 seconds. So take note of this. Then the AC output rated current is 43.5 amps, and the switch time is 10 milliseconds, which is the switch time is 10 milliseconds, which is very easy for our equipment. So most of our appliances, they don't need power to go up before they can come on. So the switch time for this inverter is 10 milliseconds of this system. The mounting instruction, like my colleagues have said, when mounting this inverter, is always advisable and okay to give a little space between the inverters to allow air dissipation. Because when these inverters do not sieve air, it always gives it an error.
and the error will make it the system to stop working. So when mounting this system, always give a space between the inverter. The space between the two inverters should be 50 cm. And the space between the inverter at the top and the down should be 20 cm. You will see it here. Okay. As you can see the illustration here. But this, we all agree that when mounting an inverter, it's advisable to use the first picture because of this. You see that this space allows the inverter to breathe itself. But when you are using space here, when you are using this diagram here, the inverter doesn't have space to be able to breathe. So it's always allowed to you have to give space between two inverters or three inverters when connecting this inverter. And you can see, like I said, is the IP is 66, but you are not allowed to mount it directly under the sun, under the rain, or where the storm can come on it. You can have a small shade for it. And the mounting of this inverter, like for the SPF and the SPE, this inverter has a wall mounting bracket you can use whenever you want to mount this inverter. Why? Because this inverter has a lot of weight. So, you know, our walls, some of our walls are not strong. The people that are doing this online, they cannot be. So, like I said, the wall bracket here supports the inverter on the wall so that it will not fall because of the weight of this inverter. Then it allows the inverter and log into position. It allows you the inverter to be placed where either horizontally or vertically, but it's always allowed to place this inverter vertically. Then it also ensures proper alignment during installation. It gives you the edge to be able to terminate all your cable, your PV cable, your grid, and your load cable. So we talk about the product wiring of this inverter. When wiring this inverter, it has 8 screws. The 8 screws, you need to lose the 8 screw with an Allen key. It uses Allen key. You are not supposed to use your screwdriver to lose this screw because you will want it out. You have to use your Allen key to lose the screw before connecting either your PV cable, your load cable, or your AC cable. Then the PV connection of this inverter. Like we said, when connecting either PV, load, or AC, it's always advisable to use a breaker because this breaker allows you to take maintenance. Whenever you want to have maintenance on this system, you can disconnect the current from entering the inverter or any other machines. So it's always advisable to use the breaker. And the breaker also helps protect high electrical current that may flow through the circuit to the inverter. So it's always advisable to use a breaker when connecting either your PV, your grid, or your load. Then when selecting the PV cables and the PV wattage, it's always encouraged to put into consideration the open of the panels. Then also check the correct polarity wiring of the PV. Because this inverter has a positive and negative terminal. So when connecting your PV to the inverter, don't put the PV cable the positive side. You put negative cable on the positive side and put the positive cable on the negative side. It's going to affect the MPPT of this inverter. So whenever you are connecting your cables, always make sure you take into consideration the polarity of the PV cable, the positive and the negative. Then terminate the strings appropriately. Terminate the strings where they are to be. like for example, you have a, let me say you have two strings of PV coming from your roof, and for one string, you connect the positive of one of the strings to one MPPT tracker. Instead of you to connect the negative side of that same string to the MPPT, you went and connect the negative side of the second string to the inverter. You are going to damage the end pole of that inverter. So always make sure you terminate your PV string appropriately. Yeah, like we said, this cable size that is you have to use on the PV side. Then we have, if you can see the inverter model, the PV input. We talked about this. You can go. This is a specification of the panel data sheet. So when connecting your inverter, always take into consideration the specification of this data sheet. Like the short circuit current of this panel is 14.96, and we already said that the 8000 TL can take 16 amps. So when you are connecting two strings of panel in parallel, you are already increasing the current of the panel, and you have exceeded the rating, the current rating of the MPPT of the inverter. So always put that into consideration. Then the maximum power also should be put into consideration. Like I say, the 1000 TL can take 20,000 watts of solar power. Then the 8000 TL can take 16,000 watts of solar power. So when you are connecting this, let's say you are using this panel that is rated 420, and 10, 15, you are still within that range. The 10,000 TL, you have already gone beyond the manufacturer's specification, and it's going to have effects on the inverter. So, like I earlier said, this inverter is a touchscreen inverter where you can be able to view all your data. Like I've seen here, we are seeing PV1, wattage, the VOC. You can see PV2, the wattage, the VOC. And one of the important aspects of this inverter is that the different MPPT tracker allows you to manage different strings independently. And it also gives you the room to use different wattage of panel. But when using different wattage of panel, it should be on one string. And always take note of the panel short current and the VOC of the panel. What I mean here is that when connecting, let's say you're using a 600 watt panel, and you want to connect it to the MPPT tracker 0.1, you are not supposed to use a 600 watt panel with a 400 watt panel on that same MPPT. If you are using a 600 watt panel, channel it to one side of the MPPT and stay within the operating voltage of the inverter. Then if you are using a 400 watt panel, always channel it to another side of the inverter and stay within the operating voltage of the inverter. Always read the manufacturer's specification when carrying out all this exercise so that you don't have issue on site. So these are the PV terminals of the inverter. This is PV1, PV2, and PV3. And like I said, there are 3 MPPT inputs which you can use on this inverter. And these are the, as you can see from this image, this is PV1. When connecting your cables, you are not allowed to connect the positive of PV1 to here and connect the negative of PV1 to this place. Always make use of the PV terminals. They are all specified in the inverter. When you open it, you see everything. They are all specified in the inverter. So when connecting your PV, always make sure they are in good way. Then you can install a tubular terminal when connecting your PV. What this does is that most times when you try to connect the stranded cables, when you try to connect the stranded cables, they can't fit in both of the terminals. So when these cables do not fit well to the board of the terminals, the strands of the other PV terminal can touch the other strand of the second PV terminal, and it will cause short circuit to the system. So always make sure you use a tubular terminal for you to be exempt from that error. So when installing this panel, use a tubular terminal for all your PV terminations. Then we talk about the battery connection and compatibility list. For the battery, like we said, for the PV, when connecting the battery, also use a DC breaker that can be able to disconnect between the inverter and the battery when you want to take out some maintenance, or when there is a fault, the breaker can easily trip off. So always make sure you use a breaker between your PV and your inverter, and terminate the battery terminals appropriately, like we said for the PV side. So one good news about this guy here is that it's compatible with most of the batteries that we have in our Nigerian market. Like these are the compatible battery list. Most of the batteries we have here, you can see it here. So that is one good feature that this inverter has. It can communicate with most of the battery in our Nigerian market. So make sure whenever you want to connect this inverter, when you want to use this inverter for a client or for yourself, make sure you look at the compatibility list. You use the compatibility list of the between the battery and the inverter, so that you can be able to communicate. You can be able to communicate using communication cable. Then for the battery part, it has communicating the inverter to the battery. We communicate the communication cable to the BMS. It's on CN4 on the inverter. When you put the inverter there, it's on CN4 of the inverter. We connect the communication cable from the BMS of the inverter. For our Growatt batteries, we mostly use PCS. So you connect it to the PCS of the inverter. Then on the screen of this inverter, you do the settings. We'll see when we get there. Then for the AC connection, yeah, like I said, this inverter has a grid and generator connection port where it allows you to put your grid and your generator, and it has a load. This load is categorized into two: the smart load and the critical load, where you can connect the smart load and your critical load depending on the frequency you are using in the house, and depending on how long you want the equipment to run. You can either use the critical load or the smart load. Then you set the battery voltage. When you set the battery voltage, when the battery SOC reaches certain percentage, the inverter will take off the smart load and allows the critical load to run in the house, like maybe your fan, your lighting, some of your sockets to charge your laptop, because these are the most important things. So this inverter has that option, and also ensure to terminate the earth wire on the inverter. Important to avoid electric. So, like I said, for the breaker installation requirements, always connect breaker, and these are the cable installation for the inverter for the 8,000 to 10,000 cell HU, and for the earth connections also. These are the full specifications. So in your leisure time, you can still look into this. They are all in the manual before carrying out your installation.
You have discussed this one.
No, I'm not talking about this.
Okay. Which one? This one?
This one is load. So, like I said, you can see all your this inverter, whatever you are consuming on this inverter, and you can see the power is 471 volts, and the total load that you consume is 0.9 kilowatts hour. So you can all see all your display on this inverter screen. That is one of the features that this inverter has over most of our products. Then the city connection, like my colleagues have said, we have this inverter, smart energy, and also use the city. They all have different functions. The smart energy controls the flow of the electric current at the grid side. It allows you to choose either to export your grid or import your grid. But the smart meter, it measures the energy consumption, like the wattage, the voltage, and the current that is used in the house. So whenever you are installing this the CT on your system, always ensure the arrow face your inverter, and you are not allowed to climb the live part of the city. My colleagues have talked about that. I don't know whether you understand. Then you connect. Yes, thank you. You connect the city to the city connection terminal. Like you can see, you can connect the white any of the terminal and the black, the red line to any of the terminal and the black line to any of the terminal. But make sure the CT is facing your inverter, and the CT should be placed close to your DP. Should be placed close to your DP. Don't install the CT close to the inverter. Install it close to your DP. Like I've talked about this one. I've talked about this one, so I was finished. Then the parallel connection of this inverter. Inverter. For the parallel connection, you configure the, like we call it, the master, and the second post as the P. We call it when it's in 3 we call it 3P2, 3P3. So for this inverter, that connection, you have to do that connection in this aspect. The first inverter, the phase A, the second inverter, phase B, and the third inverter, phase E. And also connect the communication cable between the two inverters. For the first inverter is out, and for the second inverter is in. You connect then according to the number of inverters you have, out to in, out to index to your last the last inverter. And in a single phase mode, this inverter you can connect up to 6. In a single phase mode, you can connect up to 6. You can connect in a single phase mode, you can connect up to 6. Then in a parallel mode, you can connect up to 3. Like my colleagues have talked about the breakers. Always make sure you don't use different breakers for the output. Use a breaker because of the switching, so that it doesn't affect your inverter. I've talked about it. Like I said, for the 3 phase, and this is how to communicate. Insert the communication between 2 inverters. The first one, go to the out. The second one, go to in. Like for the SP, we said you connect it. You choose the program 5 and protocol 36. you either use a 51 or 01. But for this, when you get to the screen of the inverter, you on the BMS, you on the communication between the battery and the inverter. That doesn't have protocol for you to go and choose either protocol. But you always make sure you use an RS4 and cable for the battery communication process. And this inverter is code. It has a secret code that no one can just walk to the screen of the inverter, like the one like the SP for the SPF and the SP that your daughter can walk to the screen of the inverter and touch the up and down button, and anything can happen with this inverter. If you don't know the pin, you cannot operate the inverter. So, but the default pin is 777, as you can see here. So if you have an inverter now, like let me say this one has an maybe Mr. A have already installed the inverter and he wants me to go and check what is wrong with the inverter. It must be code before I can operate this inverter. So this inverter cannot be operated by anyone except someone that is like the Android phone that we use. If I don't give you the code or you don't have, if it's the face ID I'm using, you don't have the same face, you cannot open the phone. So this inverter has a security where you or your installer can be able to access the interface of the inverter. And like I said, this is the default password 777747. So always take note of this. And you can see this inverter, you see all your generation. Like for the if this inverter is for maybe for the SP or the SPL, all these can only be seen on the shine phone or on the OSS account. For this inverter, you can see your consumption, your grid consumption, and your PV consumption. Okay, like I said, this inverter you can export to the grid. I've said this earlier that you can export to the grid when using this inverter, and it has the option here. If you are generating more, when you click on this PV cell, it will give you either PV1, PV3, depending on the PV you are generating to sell to the grid. And you can use that to make money, but in Nigeria, I don't think we sell to the grid. Then for the, like I said, the export limit to home, it gives you that option to be able to manage what your load is using in the house. Then you can set the priority, like we have priority, the SUP, the SBU for the SPM and SP. You can also set the priority on this inverter, which is you can use the PV priority, you use the battery priority, or you can use the load priority. So this inverter gives you that edge to be able to manage your load consumption, your battery consumption, or your PV consumption. And just one. Is when you install it, is automatically, if you have PV installed with this inverter, the PV is power the PV side. Then it's less for you to choose between the battery or the grid, which is to support the PV when your generation is less from your panel. So this inverter has that option where your PV can power your load. Then you choose between either battery or your grid to power the load first. Finish. Okay. These are the selling part also. Like when there is surplus of energy, the system can automatically feed to the grid and it can provide power to the load in the house. So this inverter has that option where you can to the grid. When you access the interface of the inverter, you will see all the parameters that need to be set before you can be able to achieve this function.
Next.
This one is for grid.
Move again.
So we talk about the monitoring. For the monitoring, you can use the shine phone to monitor this inverter. You can either use the Wi-Fi F or the Shine Wi-Fi F or the Shine Wi-Fi F Pro. Provided you create your Shine phone account. The app the app we use to monitor Growatt inverter is on our phone is the Shine phone app. It can be downloaded from the iOS or Android phone. Then this is the maintenance. This inverter has, like I said, it's a screen touch, so it has a tempered glass for the display screen. That's why when we talked about it, we said it should be mounted within an eye level, but not too near to the ground because of children or people that don't have knowledge about inverter. Because if this screen is touched and is touched badly, it can damage. Then so we also have the LCD panel, which gives you the illumination to be able to view the screen of the panel. So these are the screen parts of the panel. Then we have the boards that are in this inverter. We have the AC board, which works with our grid, and the control board, which is like the master that tells the board on what to do, give them different functions. And we have the DC board, which is we can say it's the MPPT board, which we use to charge our inverters. Then we go to the maintenance. The error information and processing. So for this inverter, like my colleagues have said, for the warning part, the inverter can still be running. But for the error part, the inverter not work. That is when we need to locate our service data. So the errors here, you can see error 33, which is PV current over. When you size your current is above the manufacturer's specification, the inverter can bring out it's necessary for you to stay within the voltage and the range of the manufacturer of the inverter. It's going beyond is that the PV, you can recognize your PV to charge your battery, but you go above it, the current can damage the battery. So when you see F33, that's error 33, is a PV current over. Then F40 is PV voltage over. Like we say for this inverter, the PV range is 150 to 550. So when installing this inverter, always make sure you stay within the PV range. And for the and we also have a battery load warning. When this happens, maybe you are using a battery that is not compatible with the inverter. When using a battery that is not compatible with the inverter, you can have this battery lose warning, and that means the inverter is not seeing your battery. Then we talk about the warning 85 bus voltage low. When the bus voltage is low, it gives the inverter this error. When I say by when the bus voltage is low, maybe what the current that the inverter is supposed to take the battery, but it's not seeing it will bring this error. I think that is all. That's all. You can come on with your question. Yeah. You have any question? Question. Okay. Yes. Yes, that's the I mean, what I'm meaning now, like we know, we have a single phase system. It works with this machine that the appliances that we use in the house that use a 230 AC voltage. So you can use this SPM machine as that. And for the three phase that work with 400 volt, 450 volt above, you can use this machine as a three phase. So it can also be used in an area to power our large machines. I don't know whether you're clear. Okay. In the absence of no question, I think my colleagues will come on now.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Michael. So, sorry, but we're going to do this last training for which is the so please, I beg of you all to exercise patience. So after this, we can go for the raffle draw.
Recorded.
is the internal compartment for the battery. Like I mentioned earlier, we have a total of 13 modules, and each of the modules is rated 16.1 kilowatt hour. Then this 13 of them is connected in series. So when you multiply 16.1 by 13, you have around 209 kilowatt hour. That is how come about the total sum of the capacity. And then this particular battery, the nominal voltage is 748.8 volts. That is the nominal voltage when the battery is not connected to either PV or the grid. So when you connect all of them in series, you should have 748.8 volts. So if you receive this battery and you test it and your voltage is below this, maybe one of the module could, or the connection is not right, so you need to review it. Then the system efficiency is up to 90%. And then the temperature range for this normally is between minus 25 degrees Celsius to 55 degrees Celsius. And then the cooling mode that I told you, smart air cooling, and then it has a fire extinguishing devices embedded in it. So in case of fire, there are sensors attached to the battery. Once it senses smoke or excessive heat that is above this temperature range, it engages the fire extinguisher. Then you can see auxiliary system, smoke sensor, temperature sensor, gas detection, temperature and humidity sensor, and access control plus water ingress. All these protective devices have been embedded so that whenever there is any risk of fire or over temperature, they can be put under control even when nobody is on site. So if you install it, you can just go home and sleep. Next one. So here we have the 261 kilowatt hour, and this one is the latest in the market. So this one will have it took 5 modules, and each of the modules is rated 52.2 kilowatt hour, and we have 5 of them connected in series to give us 261 kilowatt hour. And then it has almost the same features with the former. The only difference is the capacity difference, and then the cooling method. This one uses liquid cooling, not air cooling, liquid cooling. So that is the only difference about this. And then the usable energy from this one is higher than the one I explained earlier. So explaining the harsh environment adaptability, wide range temperature of minus 25 degrees to 55 degrees, IP rating 55, IP55 rating, support outdoor installation, flexible expansion, optional battery capacity. So like for this one, currently our battery, we cannot parallel them. Let's say for example, you have a site that you may require more than one battery. So you will need to get another of the inverter, because the model is, let's say for example, you have a site, a 200 kilowatt maximum capacity for your inverter. Maybe your actual load is around 160 kilowatt or 170 kilowatt, and you are looking at setting up a 200 kilowatt inverter. So, and you intend to use this. So it means you are going to have a 2 unit of 100 kilowatt inverter and 2 units of either of this battery. So each of them will be connected to a separate inverter. But the battery communication will be connected in such a way that they discharges uniformly and recharge uniformly. The inverter too will be connected in parallel. It's just that they are not sharing the same battery bank. So I don't know if that is understandable. And then for the inverter, if you are doing your installation and then your solution is pure off-grid, the maximum that can be connected in parallel is 3 units. 3 of them can be connected in parallel without issues. Then if you want to use it for grid tie purpose. The maximum you can go is 6. So grid tie in the sense that there will not be need for a battery bank. You don't need a storage. So you only need the PV and the grid. And what this basically does is it just uses the grid as a reference power. The focus is on the PV. So the more you generate from the solar, then the grid compensates the loss. Okay, let's say for example, you are pulling like 100 kilowatts from the PV, and at that time your system is running on 120 kilowatts. That is, the load demand is 120 kilowatts. It means the PV can give 100 while grid supports with 20 kilowatts. And then this system can only run during the day. So at night when there is no sun, it will be on waiting mode until the next morning. So that is what grid tie basically means. And then they have the ability to export and import power. Importing power meaning taking power out of the grid to charge your battery, supply the load. Exporting, taking power from the PV and sending it to the grid. Like for some advanced country, you have some of this system, you can use it as another source of income for yourself. So if you are producing more than what you need, the excesses can be exported to the grid while you get paid. Even in Ghana here, they do it. So the excesses can be sent to the grid. Sorry, in Kenya, not Ghana. Kenya does it. So now, these are the unique features we have for our system. Then the safety and reliability. High safety LFP cells. Like the cells are a high quality system. Like for this particular systems, we have commissioned a quite number of them within Nigeria and West Africa. So in Nigeria, we have a lot of them, and then as we move forward, we'll be seeing some of our projects that we have commissioned, both in Nigeria, in the US, and then some other part of Africa. So next slide. So now, this is how the system should be arranged on site. So when you talk of spacing between the next device and the other, that is the battery, the inverter, like you can see, the space of at least 1,300 millimeters should be reserved for installation on the back side, on the back against the wall. That is, the space between the device and the wall should be at least 1.3 meter. So that is the message that particular paragraph is trying to pass. And then a space of at least 200 millimeters should be reserved for installation on the front wall. That is, the space from the device to the next, in front of the device to the next object should be at least 2 meters. So here we have the AXE battery. So this battery is basically compatible with our WIT XHU model. These solutions, they are readily available in Nigeria. So if you need them, you don't need to wait until you have to supply them from China. As I speak to you, if you want them, they are available. So the HCE, each of the battery module is rated 5 kilowatt hour. And then from the picture you are seeing here, we have a total of 15 of them. And then the 15 are being arranged on 2 different racks from the picture. So if you count the first one, you will see that we have a total of 8 of them. Then the next one, we have a total of 7 plus the BM, the battery management system. So if you multiply the 15 by 5 kilowatt hour, you will be having 75 kilowatt hour in total for the 2 battery rack. So here is a technical data sheet. So in engineering, if you want to be a good engineer, always pay attention to technical data sheets, user manual. They are very important. We have realized that most of the installers don't have the time to even look at technical data sheet or manual. Because there are some calls that comes in that looking at the data sheet or the user manual would have saved you the time you spend wasting time and trying to put the call across. All this information, they are embedded on the data sheet, especially if you are installing the system for the first time. It is advisable to go to the data sheet, study it, take the user manual, study it. When you will come to your client, the way you handle those things, it speaks so much about you. Like you can handle device confidently without fidgeting. So it says a lot about you. So now, this particular battery, like I mentioned before, we have 15 of them connected together to give us this 75 kilowatt hour. And then the nominal voltage for this one is 768 volts. 768 volts, the nominal power. And then the IP rating of this one is quite low. It's IP20. It simply means this system cannot be installed outdoor. So it needs to be protected against direct sunlight and then rain or any liquid having contact with the battery. So that is the basic thing there to know. And then the communication channel for this one is through either RS485 communication protocol or the CAN communication protocol. Next slide. Next. Okay. So the difference between this particular inverter and the one I've explained earlier is just about the design. And then a very one unique feature that I will be disclosing to us. So this one is wall mounted, and then it's available from 10 kilowatt, 15 kilowatt, 17 kilowatt. Then this particular range is from 29.9 kilowatts to 50 kilowatt. So the battery for this particular model, it has 3 battery inputs. So let's say, for example, now you want to increase your battery bank for some inverter, you will need to engage the service of a bus bar. But for this particular one, it does that for you. We will have an internal system designed to combine the 3 banks together, because each of the battery terminal runs straight to the inverter, like battery 1, battery 2, battery 3. So, and it has a specific setting for this one. So, our chime bus, that chime bus is a set that you can use on your laptop. And then we have another one that you can use on your phone, which is the chime phone. The chime 2. That one is basically for commissioning. Anytime you are commissioning our CNI solutions, just like a quick guide, a quick set, you can easily connect through your data logger. So you go to the battery settings. If you enable BMS 1, your battery bank number 1 connected, will detect it if the communication is established. Then if you go to BMS 2, enable, BMS 3, enable, and then the 3 battery will be meshed together. They charge uniformly and discharge uniformly. Then this battery, the only difference between this battery and this one, this cabinet is in the cabinet, but this battery, if you go further, you will see the internal structure of this one. What you have here that you still have here, but this one is in the cabinet, and then this one is without cabinet. Next slide. Okay, these are some of the basic features for this inverter. So it's this particular model available from 2.9 kilowatt, 30 kilowatt, 35 kilowatt, 40 kilowatt, and 50 kilowatt. Nominal voltage. It's a 3-phase system. 3-phase for this one. And the voltage range, the AC voltage is between 380 to 30. And and then the frequency is between 50 Hz to 60 Hz. So let's assume in the case of unstable frequency, maybe you are using a generator or your grid frequency is not stable. This allows you the opportunity to set within this range, and then your system can operate normally. Then battery energy, mass 3 battery system, like I said before, for a single rack. Then PV input power, 2 nominal power, AC grid connection, 3 pin, 3 wire. That means 3 phase, 3 wire. Like you can decide to connect your system, maybe for all those motor devices, power solutions, like they don't really need a neutral line to function. Maybe your purpose of getting this system is just to get a 3-phase raw power going into those devices. This system is here for you. And then it can also be used to configure 3-phase 4-wire system. That is for the normal load. This is an advantage over the rest of our system. Then the ingress protection for this inverter is IP66, like the others. Then why the battery is IP20? So the battery must be indoor. Then work mode, you can work on grid mode and off-grid mode. The switch time is 10 milliseconds. So what this switching time is maybe your system is running, there is grid present, and then while your load is running, the grid power was interrupted. The time it takes for your system to take your load back from grid battery mode or inverter battery mode, like the storage mode, the backup mode, is what. There are some inverters in the market today that the transfer time is noticeable. Like when it's operating and grid goes out, you notice a blink on some of the lighting, like it will flicker. But this one is very fast, very rapid. You will not notice it. Then the parallel system. For this one, you can connect this one up to 6 units in parallel for off-grid operation. So this is another advantage this one has over the former that I introduced to us. Next one. Next slide. Okay. So here, I will give a brief description on the port. You can see here, from the battery terminal, you can see there are 3 terminals there. I mean, 6 of them. That is, you have 3 positive terminals and 3 negative terminals from this point here. You can see the battery terminal. So battery 1, 2, 3. Then we have the PV switch. So you can see the PV switch there. This particular system has a total of 4 MPPT trackers, and each tracker has 2 springs, making it a total of 8 springs. Then we have the COM port, that is for communication between battery and the inverter. And then we have the USB port. The USB port, like I explained earlier, it can be used to configure your data logger for remote monitoring, and it can also be used for firmware upgrade. And then we have the generator port, we have the grid port. So there are some inverter that doesn't have these fixtures. Like if you must connect your gen or NEPA, you must introduce a changeover switch, external changeover switch. But this one has everything embedded, like an ATS. You can run your generator cable directly to the inverter, and as well run your grid input cable directly to the inverter. So it all depends on which one is available. The inverter automatically switches without needing any human intervention. Next slide. So here is explaining the AC port on the gen, and then the AC port smart load, AC port for the grid inverter compatibility. So now, this one, we have the AC port here, which is gen is connecting to, and then here we have the AC port that the smart load will be connected to, that is the output of the inverter. And then the maximum current that the system can have put together is 200 amps. So support diesel generator input, mid solar system plus storage system plus diesel generator application. So here we have okay, like I explained earlier, that the system has a multiple MPPT tracker. So you can see from the pictures displayed here, you can see some of the panel connected and what they try to explain. You can see MPPT1, MPPT2, 4, like that, and then connecting to the systems. So with this, you can decide to do away with PV combiner bus. Because on the inverter itself, especially for the 50K to 100K HU, they have like a PV disconnect, a breaker at each MPPT. The system. Maybe the load I have, just one MPPT tracker can the battery or supply the load. Instead of producing power that you don't need, you can decide to turn off 1, 2, 3. Then, so you don't necessarily need a PV combiner if you are going for these solutions. So here I explained the 3 battery that I explained earlier. So you can see now that from the first, then the second picture is 1 to then here explain the 3 battery connectivity that I explained earlier. Battery cluster 1, cluster 2, and cluster 3. It goes directly to the inverter. So, and then once you configure the communication correctly, the discharging is uniform. The charging too is uniform. So this also falls in the category of the batteries I explained earlier. So there's no difference here. The only difference is in the number, which also determine the capacity. So the higher the number of modules connected in series, the higher the capacity you will get. So here you have the one that is embedded in the cabinet. This battery you are seeing here is the same thing as the. So next slide. So now you can see the internal compartment of this battery. You can see, if you count now, I think we have about 7 for the PM here, total of 7 or 8. So the only difference is in the case system. So one is cabinet, is embedded in the cabinet, and the other one is not. Okay, so I'll be running through some of the projects we have done both within India and then outside Nigeria. So we have one project for sorry. Yeah, you said I had liquid fully. Not that does have a case like no, the coming from outside. Make use of the condense to make the inside, and then there is a hose that comes out and take out the water out of the battery so that it doesn't get stuck in it. So here are some of the cases we have done over the years. So the project here is it Myanmar or something? Project size. Myanmar, okay. Project size 50 kilowatts / 100 kilowatt hour battery storage. Thank you.
Why can't I go Nigeria where we understand?
So,
This is Nigeria.
Particular project you see here, the one who
did the commissioning. This project is at CRS Abuja, Platinum Relief Services, Abuja. So the system here is 100 kilowatt WIT system, and the battery is 209 kilowatt hour. The system is powering 2 blocks of building. So far, if not for the sake of time, I would have logged into the plant. We can see the generation as at this point. We have other plants in Lagos, like the one we did for Petrocam Moe. So if you go there, you will see our solutions there too. 2 units of 50 kilowatt hour, 50 kilowatt inverter, and 2 units of 209 kilowatt hour battery. Since the day we commissioned that project in 2024, there's no NEPA there. They have not turned on their gen till now. You can go and find out. Their generator has not been turned on till now since 2024. So we have another project that we commissioned at Lagos State House. That one, they have a 400 kilowatt inverter, 100 kilowatt for, and they have a storage capacity of up to 825 kilowatt hour. The State House. Then the VP House, we have a project there too, 200 kilowatt hour plus 415 kilowatt hour solutions. So you can see the system has come to stay. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
No.
If you have any question, I'm ready to take some questions.
So, I may ask, thank you for the presentation, lovely. So if I may ask, what distinguish a CNI type of Growatt setup from every other one? I was able, during the presentation, I was able to see one thing, which is the voltage range of a string. I think 1,000 to 1,100. So in most of the plants that you have installed, how many pieces of modules make a string, and what's the voltage range? That's now we're talking about, the other one we're talking on paper, but now we're talking of reality. Thank you.
Yeah, so for most of the projects I've commissioned, the highest voltage per string we have recorded is 800 and above, 800. But then that does not mean that your PV string must be 800 volts before the system can operate. From 160 volts, you can work with it. But the maximum is the 1,100 volts. From 160 volts, the system can work with it. But so far, we have recorded the highest PV string voltage at 800 and something volts. So any other question? Oh, okay. To get it right, Growatt as a company, we don't have the installation department yet. So if, like, let's say for example, you are buying from us as a company or as an individual, you will have to engage the service of a professional engineer who will only come in for commissioning. And then for every site, it's expected that the earthing system is active. So if the earthing system, the reading between your neutral bar or your neutral line and the earthing is above 5 volts, it means the earthing is not good. And then if you are testing across earthing line and the light, and you are not getting the usual 220 to 230 volts, it means the earthing is also not good. So earthing is very, very important. And then it is advisable to earth every component that you have on site. Thank you. Any other question, please? No, the sales team are here. Engineer Felix, you say he doesn't know price and you are here. It's very, very wrong. Okay. One house.
I want to ask from your experience in Nigeria as a global Growatt, what separates a good solar installer from an excellent one? And what's the keys to focus on developing over the next 3 years? What are the differences in the IT use cases for the SPF, SPE, SPF?
I will take this question one by Are you a lecturer, sir? No, you can have the one after the other so that I can process them correctly. I will not be the only one to answer this question. So that's why I'm giving you for anybody that have idea can also.
I asked from your experience in Nigeria as a